All right, so we're starting Unit 1, Chapter 1. So this unit, which is Introduction to Earth Science, has 3 chapters, right? Chapter 1, 2, and 3. Each chapter has a lesson, which you guys will see as you go through. Today we're only going to start, because we're going to run out of time, I'm sure. We're only going to start with lesson 1A, and then we'll move on tomorrow to 1B and probably 1C, because I think this chapter has 1C. So this unit that we're taking has 3 chapters, and there's lessons in between. And remember what I told you guys in the course syllabus, how quizzes and tests are going to work? So we will be taking quizzes at the end of some lessons. And tests will be at the end of chapters. Let me see. Quizzes at the end of chapters and tests at the end of units. Yes. Okay. Yes. Quizzes will be at the end of chapters. So, for example, chapter 1 has lessons 1A, 1B, 1C. So you will have a quiz at the end of each chapter, and you will have a test at the end of each unit. So your first test will have chapters 1, 2, and 3, a little bit of information. All right? And then, go close again.
Yay!
And then,
Do you have Netflix?
all right. So let's start with Unit 1, Introduction to Earth Science. What do we see already? What do we see already? Is that a feature that the book told us about?
Oh yeah, Netflix.
So this is a box that's giving you information on him. So this is Dr. Jonathan Sarfati, chemist and creationist. And I know it is hard to read, so I will read it from the book. Those copies, sorry. It'll be much better once you guys have your Kindle. And online it looks better. On the computer, see, it's much brighter. All right, so Dr. Sarfati, let's see. Christianity makes sense. You shouldn't be scared of logic and reason. They are essential to being a Christian. Without them, it is impossible to learn anything from the Bible, the Christian's final authority. This applies to creation, one of the key teachings of Christianity. Logical reasoning can support the truth of biblical creation and demonstrate problems in the arguments given by those who hold to evolutionary old earth ideas. So what should you be doing right now as I am reading with you? Following along, reading, and what else might you want to start thinking about? Highlighting. See, there might not be anything there yet, but you want to start thinking, as we are reading, what are some important information that I may want to highlight? Okay, so over the next couple of days, we're going to keep focusing on this so that we can establish like a routine on how we're going to read and how we're going to highlight and how we're going to take notes so that you guys get in the habit of doing it. All right? Next paragraph. Logic is the science of the relationship between propositions, which are statements about the world that we believe are true. Logic can tell us what we can gather from a given proposition. But logic can't tell us whether a proposition is true in the first place. All worldviews rely on starting assumption statements called axioms, which by definition cannot be proved true. Mariana.
Axioms are
Great job. Did you guys see what Mariana just did? She raised her hand because she saw a feature. She looked at the feature, then referenced her sheet that we just went over in class about what the features are, and was able to identify that it's an italics word. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? So is that something we may want to highlight?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good job, Mariana. It makes sense for us to accept as true the axioms revealed by the infallible God in the 66 books of the Bible. This is how we can love God not only through faith, but with our whole mind. All right. Now we go on to the next page. And this is where the other feature is. What's the next feature that we're running into here? What is one of the features that you told us?
Tilly Smith.
Brooklyn. Sorry. Oh, so you have your arm up. Yeah, what is this box right here? This right here. Oh, well, you can't see. I have to take the timer off this time then. All right, this. What is that?
Oh,
Brooklyn.
a thing about Tilly Smith.
It is about Tilly Smith. And what feature is that called in your thing? In your list of things we just went over. That's a feature. What is always going to be in the beginning of the chapter? Who sees it?
The name.
The name is there. Read through the list. What do we see? What's the beginning of the chapter? Sasha.
Title.
It is. There's a title. But you guys, look through the features. This list. What do you guys see? What is that called? Lexi.
Is it a story?
It's a story, yes. Oh, what does the author call it?
I'm chapter summary.
So that's at the end of the chapter. But good guess. Yes, chapter summary. What's at the beginning of the chapter? If the chapter summary is at the end of the chapter, what are we going to find at the beginning of the chapter?
Chapter starting.
Yes, but what does he call it? Look at your list. Where's number
Chapter
one?
opener.
Yes, Lexi, chapter opener. You guys read number one. What does number one on the feature say? Chapter opener. So here, the author is choosing to open the chapter with what Brooklyn said, the story of Tilly. Remember? All right, so let's read the chapter opener real quick, and I want to hear what you guys found out last night about Tilly and why it's so important. Does anyone want to read the story real quick right here? Go ahead, Lexi.
Tilly Smith was a 10-year-old British schoolgirl vacationing with her family at the beach. But this wasn't just any beach on any day of the year. It was December 26, 2004, at Phuket Bay in Thailand. One of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history was about to happen.
Yeah, continue.
Tilly, her parents, and her seven-year-old sister were walking on the beach when they began to notice something unusual about the ocean. It was frothing and bubbling, and drawing further and further away from the beach. Tilly's mind flashed back to a geography lesson 2 weeks earlier. She immediately recognized these odd events as the signs of an approaching tsunami. She frantically screamed, "Tsunami!" and the tidal approaching
And tidal wave.
tidal wave. Finally convincing her family and other vacationers to flee a nearby hotel. A manageable wall of seawater came rushing in. On that tragic day, over 230,000 people died on the coast of the Indian Ocean. But Tilly and everyone she warned were unharmed.
Yes. Did you guys search that? What did you guys find out? What did you guys find out about Tilly? And what did she do that day?
That she learned something in school and she used it to know that there is a tsunami coming.
Yes. So she was in Thailand vacationing with her family, and they were at the beach.
She noticed that it was bubbling and it was starting to get further away from the people.
Yeah. What else? Yes. She noticed that the beach, the water, wasn't like it should be. Like it wasn't the way it regularly is. And it triggered her to remember back to her geography class where the teacher had taught her the signs of a tsunami coming. I hope that one day you guys remember Earth Science in 6th grade. I learned this. And you guys can save.
But then 230,000 people died.
Yes, well that was
scary,
because,
though.
here, I have a video to show you guys.
Oh.
Yes, of course, she was.
Scary.
She was scared, and listen to her talk about it. Let me show you. Hold on, I gotta get back to, here she is. I hope that's not loud.
If you didn't know that, you'd think 10-year-old Tilly Smith was just an ordinary schoolgirl. She enjoys all the things ordinary schoolgirls do. She lives an ordinary life and goes to ordinary lessons here at Daneshill School in Oxshott in Surrey. But on the 26th of December 2004, Tilly Smith was caught up in an extraordinary situation and reacted like lightning to save the day. She and her family were on holiday in Phuket in Thailand when the Asian tsunami struck. Most people failed to spot the first warning signs in the water, but Tilly had just studied tsunamis in school.
I remembered because I had been taught it in the geography lesson, and it was the exact same froth, like you get on a beer. So it was sort of sizzling.
Just 2 weeks
That's her
earlier,
teacher.
Tilly's geography teacher, Andrew Carney, had taught them about the early warning signs for a tsunami and how important it is to act quickly.
From the time you suspect something's wrong, then it's crucial to get to higher ground and to get away from the seaside. Even if the water is not that high, the power of the waves could crush and drag you down and drag you away.
I said there's definitely going to be a tsunami, and my mum didn't believe me, she didn't react. And so she just kept on walking, and my dad sort of believed me, and Holly, my sister, was getting really scared, so she ran back to the pool. And then my dad went back with her. And then I said, right, Mum, I'm definitely going. There is definitely going to be a tsunami. And she just, bye then. So I went back, and she was sort of reacting a bit more when I had gone. And so she went back to see if I was okay. And then the minute that she had come back, the water started coming up the beach.
That's what happened
The
after the
tsunami
tsunami
wreaked
hit.
havoc across Asia, killing over 270,000 people and causing massive destruction to property. Large parts of Phuket were damaged, but with such simple but crucial information, Tilly managed to save the lives of all the people on her beach.
Well, I told my dad, and my dad told the security guard, and the security guard told the people on the beach, because there was quite a few families on the beach, just in the water.
Some reports claimed Tilly saved over 100 lives that day, but she says the real hero is her geography teacher, who saved her life and those of her family.
If it wasn't for Mr. Sarney, then I'd probably be dead, and so is my family, so I'm quite proud that he's taught me that in the time, that it was.
The power of education is the difference between, I suppose, success and failure, life and death in this case, and there's nothing to substitute it for. Without education, I think people are powerless. With education, as can be seen here, they are very powerful in terms of directing their own lives.
According to the UN ISDR, children can be very effective messengers and can help teach the older generation. If Tilly hadn't been there, her mother may easily have died.
My mum didn't realise, because she wasn't taught about tsunamis when she was younger, and she didn't realise what a tsunami was. She didn't even know that word existed. So I think it's really good to actually know the word and be taught it.
Tilly agreed to be interviewed for the UN International Strategy on Disaster Reduction because she hopes her experience may help spread the word in other countries about the importance of raising awareness. Though her life is now back to normal, she still thinks of those who died in the tsunami and says one day she would like to return.
I sort of felt guilty that I had survived and all those people hadn't. I'd like to go there again
This
just to
tsunami
finish up
happened
our
in
holiday.
2004. So like 16
And I'm
years ago.
quite proud of myself that I
She's
knew
not really getting
what was happening.
It's hoped when the next time comes, more people will react like Tilly.
Alright, so about Tilly? Why is she someone that we want to talk about and learn about? Levi. Sorry, Levi. Go ahead.
But because of her, a bunch of people were able to escape the tsunami before it hit, and she saved a bunch of people's lives.
Yes, because she was paying attention in her geography class and she had learned something 2 weeks ago, she was able to save lives. Now, is Tilly using what she learned to fulfill God's work?
Yes.
Yes. How is she doing that? How does she do that? Are you stretching out? Mariana.
What she learned in the class to save their lives.
So helping others. So what does God tell us in the Bible, right? What have you guys learned about what God tells us to do in the Bible? What are some, there's 2 commandments that are important that he told us, right? The first one is to love God, right? And then to love thy neighbors, right? We should be kind, we should love one another, we should help each other out, right? So we can use science to do that. She did. She used science to show love to others, to show kindness to others. If you quickly skim, because we're gonna run out of time, but we'll go through this unit, this lesson tomorrow. I want you to skim through go through, read this lesson, and practice using the skills that we just did today. So I want you to read through it. I want you to highlight what you think is important, but I want you to be mindful and thinking and focusing on how people are using science to fulfill God's work by helping others. Read through this lesson, highlight things, and we're going to talk about it. Because there's a few stories in this lesson of how people are helping others. How they are using the work that they're doing to help others and fulfill God's work. All right? So tomorrow when you come to class, I want you to be prepared, just like you were today with Tilly. I want you to be prepared to talk about lesson 1A. And we will go through it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Marianne.
Are we allowed to take this home?
Yes, I want you to take it home. Yes, make sure you take it home. If for some reason you forget it in class or you lose it on your way home, what's another option that you could do? LMS, it's loaded up there. And I have to give a compliment to Ren. Right now you should be taking your agendas out to write down what your homework is for tonight. So the homework, and I will upload this to LMS, is read chapter 1, lesson 1A, and highlight, and read and take notes. If you guys have questions, be thinking about what are these people in this lesson doing? How are they working to help others? Because there's a couple of stories in here that we'll talk about tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll get to the lab tomorrow, the second part of class. All right, so and be looking at the features. So take also the packet that has the features for the unit, so you can start seeing what features you find in your chapter and highlight. I want to start practicing using those. Any questions? Great job, you guys. Great job today, focusing, staying on track.